The Murray Walker Memorial Trophy for Masters historic Formula One is all set to go at Silverstone. Michael Lyons leads the field around as we come through into the final corner, preparing to stir up a lot of Ford Cosworth V8 engines as they will go racing for 20 minutes around the full Silverstone circuit. We are preparing and we are ready to go. Michael Lyons sets off from pole position. Yep, here we go now, up to speed, and he gets away well. The Williams alongside him of Mike Cantillon, Steve Hartley in third place in the other McLaren, the MP4, but a good start there by Michael Lyons. He's taken an advantage immediately through Abbey Corner, and look at the speed of him on the opening lap.
Absolutely amazing, these Formula One cars, after we've seen the other more slower sports cars earlier on. But Michael Lyons taking the lead in grid order, actually. Mike Cantillon, then it was Steve Hartley, Jamie Constable and Lucas Halusa in fifth position.
Yeah, Lucas Halusa, who won in the sports cars in the Ferrari earlier on today. He is racing in the M23, the Austrian, the 30-year-old who certainly showed us some good pace in a sports car. We'll see how he gets on in a Formula One car. You're looking at Mike Cantillon in second place, the number 7 Williams, the FW07, and he's coming under quite a lot of pressure from Steve Hartley in the MP41, a car from 1982, and a very impressive machine for Nicky Lauda and John Watson as well. We've got a few McLarens out there, a couple of Williams, Lotus as well, Ensign, Shadows, and the Tyrrells. There's the number 99 car just going through as well. That's Jamie Constable. He was the first of the Tyrrells on the grid, lined up in fourth place for the side-by-side action. But Michael Lyons is definitely in control so far.
Coming through the wonderful Beckett sweepers, and great to see full Grand Prix cars going through here. That's a sight, and look at the lead that Michael Lyons has already built over the second place Williams of Mike Cantillon. But Cantillon coming under great pressure from Steve Hartley in the McLaren as they turn into the right-hander at Stowe Corner and make the short trip now downhill into the Vale and then turn left. And this is not as tight as the Grand Prix cars use. This one is the historic club corner, so they turn into the left and then the right to complete the first lap.
Indeed they do, and all over the dust, over the oil that got laid down earlier, makes the visibility really hard for everybody following, I have to say, when they run over. Oh, and it's a spin for the McLaren. Oh, that Steve Hartley, I believe, has spun through Abbey Corner. We could see it from our commentary position. You haven't seen it on screen yet, but I just caught a glimpse of it out of the window. I don't know whether that was connected with going onto the sand or the dust. Oh, and that's another car that also...
That's Ken Tyrrell in the number 23. Tyrrell also had a spin.
Oh dear, so as a result of the oil that's down, I'm surprised at that, because surely maybe they weren't watching the race earlier, didn't realise, and surely on the outlap they would have seen all that dust still down. But that means that Jamie Constable's now moved up into third place. Mike Cantillon is still in second. Michael Lyons is leading the race comfortably there in car number 8. Constable lead at advantage at the moment over Cantillon in second place, Constable in third, and Steve Brooks now in fourth in the Lotus 91. And that was a great shame to see the spins, particularly for Steve Hartley. He is up and running again and may be able to make up some of the lost ground.
Yes, he spun almost within the confines of the track, actually, and he ended up back on the track, selected first gear and moved away. So that was very lucky that he kept the engine running, Steve Hartley, but he has lost a lot of places. It'll be interesting to see him come through the field during this race. But Michael Lyons it is who's dominating at the moment as he comes down the hanger straight into Stowe Corner. That's a classic Grand Prix shot, isn't it, Ben? The long shot down towards up the hill towards Chapel Curve.
Yeah, and then we've got that battle between the Tyrrell and the Lotus. This is for third place now, so a podium finish, although Steve Hartley's moving back up the order. He's got back up into fifth place. He's just moved ahead of Luca Halusa in the other McLaren, the M23 car in the background. But for the moment, it's Jamie Constable here in third in the Tyrrell, chased by the Lotus number 99. The Lotus is number 12, and through the dust they come. And this time I think they're all being a bit more sensible about not running straight across it.
Yes, some of them are just catching the edge of it, but most of them keeping off it. In fact, as I say that, one car drives all the way up the dust.
Mark Hazel in the pits, that's a shame. In the other Williams there, that's the FW08C. Another lovely car, a car that was run in 1982, had a great deal of success, part of Rosberg's title-winning season.
And it was actually the type of car that Ayrton Senna first drove in Formula, not in a race, but in testing. He drove an FW08C.
That was at Donington, wasn't it?
At Donington Park, that's right, in 1983.
Yeah, wonderful to see. And he was impressive from the start, of course. Now, there is Steve Hartley. So he had the spin. He's got himself back into 5th place. He's now actually chasing after Steve Brooks in the Lotus. So Steve's got some pace, even though he had that mishap earlier on. And we could see him fight his way back. Michael Lyons is opening up a good advantage. He set fastest lap as well. Last time around, his gap was 3.8 seconds when they went over the line. But now Hartley is trying to close the gap to Brooks in the Lotus. Jamie Constable's got a bit more of a gap now in 3rd place in the Tyrrell. Holding on to 2nd still, the FW07C Williams, 1979 Williams car with ground effect. Raced back in Spain in that year, car put together by Patrick Head, and Frank Durney was very much key part of the Williams team in those days. They drew a lot of ground effect knowledge from the Lotus 79, which had come before it, and the FW07 went on to win at Silverstone, taking its first win at Silverstone, and Clay Regatoni took the first win for Williams here back in 1979, and that FW07 is the car that's running in 2nd. But look, we've got a good battle going on now.
We have indeed, yes. Steve Hartley, after that spin at Abbey on the first lap, was it the first lap or the second lap? Can't remember now. Too much has gone on. But anyway, he's recovered now to catch Steve Brooks as they come down into the right-hander at the village. They're just passing Judy Lyons there as they make their way into the tight right, now the tight left, and Steve Hartley looking for a way through, goes tight through the loop, gets alongside Steve Brooks, but he might lose out again as they go through Aintree. Brooks gives him room, but then cuts across in front, and Hartley ends up going way out onto the real estate on the outside of Aintree, and that's lost him some time.
Don't do a Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi had a big spin down there a few years ago, and wouldn't want to see that. Thankfully it didn't happen on this occasion, and Steve is still chasing down, and he's got fastest lap, so he's clearly got pace.
Yes, absolutely, and this is a fabulous car, the MP4. It was the first car from McLaren of the new era of Ron Dennis, and tremendously successful it was. As they come down towards Cox Corner, this blindingly quick right-hander, they tuck in through the right, they might just, they keep well off the curves actually, both being very good and not running wide, and up over the crest into the left-hander at Maggots, and through he goes. That's a great run from Steve Hartley to pass Steve Brooks.
Yep, so he's up into 4th place, so is he still got a chance of getting a podium? I think there might still be an opportunity for him. Michael Lyons is leaping out in front, but 2nd, 3rd in particular, he's got a chance of chasing down the Tyrrell. As you say, this was a wonderful car, and in fact the same type of car with which John Watson won the 1981 British Grand Prix here in 1981. So some 40 years to celebrate. Watty winning. Man, I've commentated with many times over the years. He's actually busy this weekend commentating on elsewhere, but it's lovely to see the car that the same style of car that he did so well at Silverstone, racing hard here. It might have had a spin down at this section earlier on, but it is definitely closing up on the Tyrrell up ahead. It's the 011 Tyrrell, the 011. That's also a 1981 car, isn't it?
Well, the car with Steve Hartley's car is actually the car that Watty drove in the period. He won the Caesars Palace, the Detroit Grand Prix from 17th on the grid. And here we're seeing the very unusual 6-wheel Tyrrell. This is a recreation of the car. It's not an original. It's been built up for Jonathan Holtzman, but very much with the support of the Tyrrell family, who were very much happy to give him drawings and all the specifications for this car, which actually did win a race in Sweden.
Yeah, 1-2. They got a 1-2, didn't they?
That's right, but wasn't massively successful. But the idea was aerodynamics, get the front wheels much smaller by using a pair of them instead of one each side.
Yeah, the problem being though that the tyre compounds and things didn't always work out quite so perfectly for them. But it's lovely to see a P34 out there. It's such a unique shape, that front end with the four front wheels. So very good to see. Meanwhile, Steve Hartley still lapping quickly and trying to close that gap down to Jamie Constable. Not quite there in sight of him. Well, it's certainly in sight, but in terms of getting alongside, he's not quite there. Ken Tyrrell, yeah, that's his name, in 9th place, up ahead of Warren Briggs at this stage. He is trying to find a bit more pace as well. Ken, American, was also racing a Tyrrell, but not actually related to the Tyrrell family. Happens to have exactly the same name, which is fun to see. Now, Steve Hartley, can he find a bit more pace as he comes down through the last couple of corners? We're completing another lap, still got just over 10 minutes to go in this Formula One Memorial Trophy race in memory of Murray Walker, and he's certainly got a good run going here. Don't get too much on the dusty stuff, that's where it went wrong for him earlier, but he's following that Tyrrell closely.
He is indeed, yes. It's the Tyrrell of Jamie Constable as they go up to Village. Now Hartley going for the inside, a little bit later on the brakes. Oh, a little bit squirrely there on the braking, but managed to get through the corner okay, but that's really compromised his line up to the loop. Now he'll try again, I'm sure, as they go out through Aintree onto the very fast Wellington Straight. Not that much slower down here than the Hanger Straight as they come down towards Brooklands. Still Constable ahead in third place, Hartley in fourth.
Yeah, the number 99 car, the Tyrrell, the 011, it was a 1981 car. It was raced by Michele Alboreto and Eddie Cheever that year. It got better the following year, actually, 1982. Michele Alboreto had some good results, a fifth in Brazil, fourth at Long Beach, third at Imola, and then had a victory at Las Vegas, and that was a very key victory for the Tyrrell team. And the drivers who had opportunities with Tyrrell at that time included the likes of Slim Borgard, Brian Henton, Danny Sullivan joined the team in 1983, but they weren't running with turbo engines, so it wasn't a particularly competitive team at the time.
The Tyrrell 011 actually saw the end of an era because it was one of these sorts of cars, and we're going to have a change of position though. We're not room there. It's
pretty close
through.
though,
yeah,
isn't it? I wonder if we...
Down. But the car leading here was the last type of car to win a Grand Prix with a DFB engine. So the huge and successful 186 wins as Steve Hartley looks for the inside at Stowe Corner, but can't find the way through there. Jamie Constable managing to hold him back in the Tyrrell. It's the McLaren behind, which is in the famous orange and white, or red and white colours, as they come through the right-hander at Club Corner. And actually Jamie Constable a little quicker through there, and he's opened up a bit of a gap on Steve Hartley for third and fourth places as they come up the Hamilton Straight.
Yep, so he still hasn't quite found a way through. He's been very cautious into Abbey after his spin there, which is understandable. He would have lost a little bit of confidence in that section, whereas Jamie looks pretty confident. But it's up here now. The McLaren seems to close in a little bit, and particularly after Beckett's, that's where it definitely seems to have a little bit more pace than the Tyrrell in the hands of Steve Hartley. Let's see how it goes here. This is a key area, as we know. He can get a decent tow on the run down towards Brooklands. I'm not sure he's quite close enough, though, to have a go. Let's see whether he can close in on the Tyrrell up ahead. No, not close enough to actually get alongside. Meanwhile, further back, we've still got Steve Brooks in the Lotus, not too far behind them, keeping a watchful eye in the Lotus 91. Then there is a bit of a gap back to Lucas Salusa, the Austrian, racing in the McLaren M23 on this one, as he stays ahead of Warren Briggs for now. Fastest lap, actually, to Stephen Hartley, as we know. But can he find a way through? Now it's this next section where he does seem to have good pace.
It is, yes, out of Copse Corner, up the rise into the fast left-hander at Maggots, which leads into the sweepers at Beckett's, and it's right and then left and then right again, which leads them out to the fast left. And Steve Hartley has another spin in the middle of Beckett's, and again he does a full 360.
Oh no!
And unfortunately clipped the Lotus as it came by. And that's really unfortunate there. Steve Brooks had nowhere else to go. He had to go around the outside, and I think that's damaged the front left wheel, as it looks to be at a strange angle then. Well,
you're usually more sensitive on the front wheel than the rear wheel with a bit of contact like that. And that is a great shame. Steve's been trying quite hard, but making a couple of mistakes, and that has meant that Jamie Constable is now pretty comfortable in third place. Let's take a little look back. So Steve on the attack, we knew he was quick here, but it just went wrong for him. He runs a tiny bit wide there, maybe carries a bit too much speed in. He's in the real slipstream. He lost a bit of downforce, could have been part of it as well, trying to take a lovely 360, but then the Lotus flicking around the outside, and I think you're right that it has damaged the left front suspension, the steering arm perhaps on the McLaren. Another look at it from a different angle. He's lost the back end as he went through the left-hand section. Didn't know quite where the Lotus was. The Lotus went around the outside, bosh, into the front wheel. He is picking up the pace, and maybe it is still working okay.
Yes, he could have got away with that. It was only a glancing blow, but we've seen plenty of times what seems like a very minor contact actually damages the steering, and drivers aren't going to drive the cars flat out if the steering is damaged, so they tend to call into the pits as we look at our leader, Michael Lyons. We haven't seen much of Michael, have we? He's been absolutely dominant so far in this race in the Ensign.
Yeah, the Ensign, which in its day was not a particularly quick car. The likes of Alicia Salazar, Roberto Guerrero, Mark Sura drove it in early 1981 as well. It was a team that was a bit tight on budget and they struggled to make it run near the front, but it's certainly running at the front here. 4.3 seconds, the advantage over the Williams. Chasing him of Mike Cantillon, a beautiful FW07, very classic 1979 machine. Alan Jones, who went on to win the title in 1980 and had some very strong performances. He won at Hockenheim in 1979, so a car that we saw Alan Jones do a lot of fantastic racing with.
Well, this particular car was driven by Carlos Reutemann in 1981, and it was the very car that he lost the 1981 World Championship to Nelson Piquet by 1 point, because Reutemann's drive at Caesar's Palace was, what I've written in my notes, lackluster, and it's never been explained why he wasn't quick in that race, but he didn't get enough points to beat Piquet. Piquet finished 5th and got enough points to beat Reutemann, and we read recently we lost Carlos Reutemann only last week.
Yeah. Indeed, and those, there was a bit of a slide from Michael, but I think he's dealing well with the lead. Yeah, the FW07. In those days, we often modified a car over a couple of years, so it would stay the same number, maybe have a slightly different term after it, the C, meaning it was the slightly later car of the FW07. But it's slightly different nowadays, where every year there's a different car. In those days, the cars were slightly more modified from one year to another before perhaps they came up with a completely new design.
And they were developed throughout the year as well, weren't they? Which tends not to happen these days because there's rules about what you can change and what you can't. But it was a constant development.
Yeah, well, it's still constant development, even if the rules are limited. There's still been a lot of work on changing. That's Lucas Alusa, who we saw winning earlier today in the Ferrari Bread Van, and now he's out in the McLaren and he's running in 6th place on this occasion. There's one of the Arrows, car number 49, Neil Glover. That's the Arrows A5. 1982 car. Again, Mark Sura would have been a driver for Arrows back in the day. Mauro Baldi. It's an evolution of the Arrows A4, the team that Jackie Oliver ran, former great racing driver, and of course went on to become a great historic racing driver himself as well, and a very successful team. That's Michael Lyons lapping the P34 Tyrrell and picking off a few more as he comes around. Got a good, comfortable advantage, keeping it about the same. 4.8 seconds, the gap now to Cantillon in 2nd place. And Jamie Constable holding on to 3rd. Steve Brooks is still going. Yeah, he's doing a fine in the Lotus. Just trying to see how the other McLaren is getting on. Still doing a good job, actually, isn't it? Hanging on in there, Steve Hartley, despite that incident earlier. Well, he is, yeah, he's back in 4th place.
Yeah, it looks to be neither of those cars suffered any significant damage. In fact, Brooks, I think, may have got a problem. He's not come through over the timing line.
Yeah. Oh, there was a little bit of a slide there, trying to get through the traffic. It didn't quite work for Mike Cantillon, getting past the Tyrrell, and he had to hit the brake a bit harder than he was expecting to.
Brooks is there, he's come through, but quite a long way behind. He lost a lot of time on that.
Right, okay, there's a problem in the car. They're chasing down Paul Tattersall, another Ensign. That's the Ensign 179. That was a difficult year for them. Likes of Patrick Gaillard, Derek Daly, Mark Sura racing the Ensign 179 back in the day. On this occasion, it's Paul Tattersall. Hasn't quite got the pace of the front runners, but Cantillon goes through safely. And yeah, as you say, Steve Brooks is definitely dropping back a little bit. Lucas Alusa is ahead of him now, isn't he?
Yeah, he lost about 20 seconds on that last lap, so whether that was a quick spin away from our cameras or whether he has a technical problem and has slowed, but he came over the line, carried on the next lap, so hopefully it was just a quick spin and he can continue. Still ahead of Lucas Alusa though, and then Warren Briggs in 7th place.
Under a minute to go, but it means that across the line he goes. It's probably onto the final lap. The checkered flag presumably will be coming out at the end of this, as Lyons has this useful advantage. He's built it up a bit more actually over the last lap. It's up to nearly 7 seconds. Jamie Constable still in 3rd place in the Tyrrell, and hanging on in there in fourth despite that 2 spins that he's had now and a little bit of contact with the Lotus. Steve Hartley, I believe, is still in fourth position. Oh, he's from the back row. I'm just waiting for him still to come over the line in the background. Yeah, he has just crossed the line now, but he's a long, long way down.
Yes, he's lost a lot of time with those 2 spins actually in the end, wasn't it? He comes through okay.
Yeah, so the field was rather spaced out during the duration of what is a sprint race, a 20-minute sprint race. And Michael Lyons is looking very, very comfortable on the final lap. And it looks like he's on for a fairly easy victory, I have to say. I'm sure he's delighted to get this opportunity. As we said, it was originally going to be Johnny Herbert driving this car, but Johnny pulled out in the end, and it is Michael Lyons who's dominated in the wet in qualifying, and he's dominated in the dry in similar fashion. And this car is obviously beautifully set up, very straightforward ground effect car. You can see the way that the side pods use the airflow beneath them to suck the car down onto the road. Funnily enough, next year in Formula One we'll see ground effect coming back. It was banned for a long time. They created what they call flat bottom Formula One cars to reduce the amount of downforce, and next year ground effect will be back because it's a way of creating downforce that doesn't create the same turbulence behind and hopefully will allow for closer racing. Michael Lyons comes out of the last corner in the Murray Walker Memorial Trophy to take victory. A very, very comfortable victory in the Ensign. Well done to Michael Lyons, dominating the event. He beats Mike Cantillon by a comfortable margin of 7.8 seconds as they cross the line. The Williams finishing in second place with a beautiful car to see out there, but it's Ensign versus Williams, and then a Tyrrell. We're waiting for Jamie Constable. He's just crossing the line. There he is. So another British manufactured Formula One car, and that one finished in third place.
Michael, I'm going to come to you first. I think that's the fastest I've seen an Ensign go. You seem to check out at the start and all good.
Well, I can't complain on days like today, can I? I can't make any excuses. No, it's a testament to what the guys, the students, and obviously the wise eyes as well, guiding them over. We've done our homework. Obviously, it's not your first choice of Formula One winners, but the car's pretty good. We've done a bit of work, and we've got it working well, and it's a testament to them because the level of competition here is really, really strong. I mean, you see the cars around us on the grid, and the drivers as well. They've won these championships before, so it's fantastic just to be able to be drafted in at the last minute and get to steal some glory.
Well done, Mike. You seem to be closing in a little bit in the middle of the race. He's quite a hard man to catch, isn't he?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to Michael. You're an amazing drive. I just couldn't stay with him. I mean, we were putting in the quickest lap times that we've done around here. I still couldn't catch up with him, so fair play to him. But there's always tomorrow.
A great race. On to Jamie Constable. Jamie, you must be quite relieved when you saw Steve spin in your mirrors.
Well, I didn't actually see him spin in my rears, but when I got on the straight, expected him to be there, and he wasn't. So I assumed something happened. But I feel sorry for Steve. He caught the oil on the first lap, and it could have happened to any of us. So it's a lucky third, really, because he was driving well up until that point.
Well done to all three of you.